Thoughts around equalisation. Have you had discussions with Subiaco and a lot of the other stakeholders, and what are some of the potential stipulations that have been discussed?
Yeah, I've had lots of phone calls and lots of discussions with stakeholders, and we shouldn't overplay, the part that Subi have actually done really well, which is actually setting a really strong culture, setting really strong standards, really strong commitment to their strength and conditioning and their preparation. So, this is a club that puts a lot into what they actually do on field, and, I hear lots of things about, are they overspending or are they working outside the rules? And we did a review and an audit, which we can do all on all the clubs, and we did that 18 months ago, and they sort of came out squeaky clean. So, congratulations has to go to Subi, because they've got a really strong culture and playing group. Kitchen and Horsley and those blokes have bred a really strong team that have obviously performed exceptionally well. And I don't think anyone expected that South would have turned up and played the way that they played on the day. And, that's not a great showcase for, the main stage, and where we're really wanting to promote and showcase the WAFL. But I think what we saw of the two games prior to that were outstanding showcases, particularly the reserves, and then the Colts sort of 2 years in a row. It's gone down to the last 2 minutes to decide the winner. So coming through the system, I think we've got a really good competition. Our responsibility in terms of looking after the WAFL is making sure that it's close and competitive, and a bit like the AFL, we want to put mechanisms in place where any team on any given day has got an opportunity to win. And that means for us at the moment, we've got to look at the teams at the bottom of the ladder. We've also got to potentially look at the teams at the top of the ladder and say, well, how do we get some equalisation measures in place that can actually deliver a more equal competition going forward? And the challenge we face is, the AFL, they've got a whole range of mechanisms that they can actually put in place. They have different funding models for clubs. They have obviously a draft. We obviously take our players out of our zones, and there's some interstate that comes into that. And the soft cap they actually use as well to, cap what they're actually spending off the field in terms of their footy departments. And I think that's a real area that we need to sit down and focus on is, can we ensure that we're having a sustainable footy club through an equalised amount that they're actually spending through their footy department and on their coaches and on their S&C and, on their recovery staff and massage and all of that stuff to equalise the competition out, because that's where we've seen historically in the AFL a lot of money being spent, and the rich clubs were getting ahead of the poorer clubs because they just couldn't keep up on that sort of overspending to support their teams.
With West Perth, obviously they ended up scraping into the finals, which was great news for them as a football club, but still off the field they've been really struggling up to this point, and as to whether they have been able to stick their head out of the sand, only time will tell. But, this is the scenario we're talking about. Swan Districts, who only won 4 games this year. Are we going to try and help those clubs be better and be up to the level of Subiaco, or do we need to bring Subiaco back to the field? Because the way I see it, the better we make the competition, the better for its overall future.
Yeah, and broadly I think we'd agree with that, Karl. And what we've got to do is we sit down and we've got a footy affairs meeting with the West Australian Footy Commission where we're going to consider this in detail. And all the conversations I've had with WAFL coaches and key WAFL stakeholders, I don't think anyone's actually said there's the one decision that you can make, and if you do that, you're actually going to deliver that outcome, which will actually have a positive impact on the competition. So we have to look at the levers of the point system, which determines how many players and the quality of the players and the experience of the players that can actually be on a list. We obviously have to keep working on the salary cap, and then that's where I think this footy department spend and the soft cap can be the next real mechanism that we actually have to look at. But we don't want this to be a long run of waiting for another 4 or 5 years to teams to necessarily try to get to Subi, if that means that we've got a really strong outlier that the other teams can't actually catch. So that's the challenge that we've got, because people want to turn up to competitive matches. They want to turn up on the day not knowing the outcome prior to the game starting. And, obviously we saw on the weekend just how good Subiaco are, and congratulations to them on a great premiership.
Gav, at that grand final, there were just under 19,000 supporters that turned up, and reportedly that you and the WAFL lost $150,000 through doing that. Can you guarantee the future of the WAFL grand final being at Optus Stadium, or do you need to look at an alternative venue?
Well, we're committed at the moment to Optus, and we're committed there at the moment because it's an amazing experience for the fans that get along, and it's an amazing experience for the players being able to actually get out on that ground, see all of those facilities, or use all of those facilities. So we're going to work really hard to try to showcase the best of the WAFL at the best stadium in the world. So we're committed to trying to pull that off. What we need to do is make sure that we've actually got a great day that we can activate and pull together. And again, this is why these equalisation measures are really important for the competition, because we need it to be close and competitive going forward. But, if you have an outlier, and there was a bit of that, which is a challenge even for this year, where most people sort of thought they knew the answer of the outcome of the league match prior to the ball being bounced, and in the end, Subiaco just proved too strong, and they ran away with it. So that's part of our challenge. But at this point, we're committed to it. The fans that stayed around got that chance to have the kick out on the ground. I went down there, took my son out there, and seeing how many happy families were and kids with big, massive smiles out there, it's a really important part of what we do with the WAFL, providing that unique opportunity only once a year, and we want to continue to build on it.
Last one from me. Have you had a good chat to your counterparts over at the SANFL? Because they're doing some things right. They had 39,000 to their grand final. They've had 7 different clubs win in the last decade.
Yeah, we have, and actually caught up with Jake today, the CEO of the SANFL, and we'll talk you through some of this, and we're actually catching up with them again on Friday. And so, yeah, they do get big numbers, and they've had those big numbers coming for a long period of time. The interesting thing for the WAFL is that all WAFL teams except Perth and West Coast have played in a grand final in the last 10 years. So teams have been getting to the last day, but they actually haven't necessarily won it. So we're not far off the mark, and Perth is obviously showing really positive signs that they're on the improve, and we'd expect if they keep improving like they have, they should be playing finals. And we're obviously going to look at both West Coast and Peel, their conditions, to make sure we've got that right to ensure they can remain competitive without being too dominant going forward.
Thanks for your time. Really appreciate it. We'll open it up to the audience and see what they've got to say. Cheers. With us for Giant Bicycles, the new 2020 models available right now from the world's biggest bike brand. Capesy, welcome to the show. How are you going, mate?
Yeah, great, Karl. Thanks very much for having me.
Yeah, well, you would have heard Gavin Taylor, and you have, I'm sure, spoken to Gavin Taylor and the West Australian Football Commission on the back of comments made after your dominant win. And congratulations, by the way, on winning the way that your club did on Sunday in the WAFL Grand Final. But how do you feel about the rhetoric and the statements that have been made, and where we go to from here?
I think a lot of it's a bit hysterical, to be quite honest with you. Gav his comments did fuel some unfortunate chatter and some social media content and all those sorts of things that were pretty disrespectful to a bunch of players and coaches that have set up a really, really fantastic system and done some magnificent culture. So all of that was really disappointing. But as we've sat with the players over the last couple of days, really it's a badge of honour for everyone involved in our club, that we can wear that proudly, that the whole bunch of naysayers are saying that something needs to change to drag us back to the field, I think.
There was comments made tonight by Gavin that Subiaco was investigated about 18 months ago, was found to be squeaky clean, which is a good statement to have been made public. But look, in the end, Capesy, what are you doing that other clubs aren't? I know that you probably won't want to give too much away, but why do you think you've had the sustained success that you've had at your football club now for a long period of time and under your leadership?
Look, Karl, I think it's quite the reverse. We've been open to helping any other club in the WAFL and provide advice when approached by the Footy Commission. We're very much an open book. All our people are involved on whatever committees the Footy Commission want to improve the WAFL. Look, Subi, we're not a one-team competition, mate. We've got all the other clubs that we're trying to... we know we can't dominate a competition or be the best team. Everyone's got to have their go. And so we're not trying to hide from any of that sort of thing. We help anyone that wants to know anything about what we do. So having said that, I mean, people talk about culture in football clubs, and you and Hase know all about the rhetoric around cultures and things like that. But I would say, and I said it to Gavin and the commissioners, that we're quite open to anyone coming to our club and looking at what we do, what the players do, how it all works. figuring out I think there's 6 or 7 key things that make football clubs really, really important, and then taking that to the other clubs that aren't doing as well and trying to judge them in comparison too. And I think that's where you're going to get your answer.
Capesy, we know that success breeds more success, and you have been able to attract a lot of players off AFL clubs to your list. But what you've also done very well is look around the other clubs for guys that are probably not getting the opportunity that you think they deserve. And I talk about Ben Sokol, Rowan Powell's another one that was at Claremont, also Aaron Heel and Drew Road, another one from West Perth. So a lot goes into your targeting list management strategy as well that probably a lot don't see.
Look, I think that's really important, Hayes. You're exactly right. We have for a number of years. Joel Latham played the grand final with us in 2014 and played 50 reserves games at West Perth, I think, before that as well. So, I mean, they're the sort of guys that we look around and say, are they undervalued at their club? Have we got a role for them where we are? It's about their personality. And generally our players would come along and say, well, so-and-so at a particular club's a really good fella and really would fit our culture. And so those sorts of things are massive at a footy club. You can't just go and recruit who you like. It doesn't work that way. You've got points and salary caps and all the rest of it. So really important to get a lot of people looking around for the right ones that fit your club.
If there were recruiting stipulations placed around your club, how would you guys react to that, and what are some of the things you could do to fight back?
Well, it's interesting. I did hear a little bit what Gavin said at the end about soft salary caps and all the rest of it. All the clubs did a benchmarking study just this year, and only a couple of months ago. And there's 4 or 5 clubs you could just about chuck a towel over that spend exactly the same amount of money as we do. So there's no suggestion that we spend the most amount of money in the WAFL. Far from it, in fact. So that's interesting in that respect. The other equalisation measure they talk about is points, and we're well under the current cap of points. And we think it's going to go lower for us again next year. So we're happy to be, if there's further restrictions on that, Hayes, so be it. And I don't think, for as far as the salary cap, the actual spend, we won't get within, we won't be too close to the border of that either this year. So we're pretty comfortable where we're at with all those key areas. And if the Footy Commission look at those areas, I think they're looking at the wrong things.
Given your success as CEO, you've been there since 2010 and it's been a very successful period. How many times have clubs approached you individually to try and poach you out of there? Because to me, that would be smart business. That would be the smartest thing to do.
There's a job at the Dockers.
Never once, Hayes. No,
is that right?
Once.
So the clubs clearly aren't learning what needs to be learned. The best in the business, go and offer something towards him and help your club. South Fremantle in the process right now. Would you go there?
Well, no, I'm very happy at Subi. Subi's been very good to me, Hayes, and I take a great. I'm sort of heavily emotionally invested in the club and where we've got. So look, it wasn't that long ago, mate. We were about 2010, 11, 12, 13. We were 7th, 8th, 6th, and all those sorts of things. And you don't forget that very quickly. It wasn't that long ago. So we had a lot of looking at each other, honesty sessions and all those sorts of things about what we were and weren't doing well, what we kidded ourselves on, and what we thought was really serious. And so we've been able to work really strongly since, I think it was 2013, we finished 8th. And from then on, we've progressed exponentially. So we're not going to be turning that around in a hurry, I hope not.
Thanks for talking to us. Appreciate it. We'll get into the calls now, 922-RRD2. Thanks, Capesy.
Pleasure to be on, boys. Thanks very much.
Good on you. Peter Capes there, the CEO of the Subiaco Footy Club for Kia Sorrento's run-out deals. 3-year free